Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we dive into How to Have Impossible Conversations, a compelling guide that illuminates the path to engaging in frank and productive dialogues, no matter how sensitive or divisive the topic. Authored by philosopher Peter Boghossian and scientist James Lindsay, this book is a treasure trove of strategies for those seeking to not only express their viewpoints, but to genuinely understand and possibly influence those of their conversational counterparts. At a time when public discourse often degenerates into shouting matches, Boghossian and Lindsay offer a way forward, laying out techniques to foster respectful and enlightening discussions. From building rapport to mastering the art of encouraging others to revisit their assumptions, How to Have Impossible Conversations is essential reading for anyone who believes in the power of dialogue to uncover truth and foster mutual understanding. Peter Boghossian serves as an assistant professor of philosophy at Portland State University and is renowned for his international lectures on reason and science, including engagements with the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science. James Lindsay, with advanced degrees in physics and mathematics, brings a scientific rigor to the conversation, having authored several books, including the critically acclaimed Cynical Theories. Whether you're a critical thinker who relishes a well-crafted argument, a skeptic eager to challenge irrational beliefs, or a quiet rationalist tired of the cacophony of baseless shouting matches, How to Have Impossible Conversations is your guide to navigating and benefiting from the challenging conversations of our time. Join us as we explore the insights and practical advice offered by Boghossian and Lindsay, and empower yourself to engage in meaningful, transformative dialogues. How to Have Impossible Conversations, a very practical guide. Introduction: Navigating the minefield of polarizing conversations with grace and effectiveness. Have you ever found yourself tiptoeing around explosive topics like politics, religion, or ethics, only to end up trapped in a verbal minefield? These subjects, deeply entwined with our identity and beliefs, can transform a casual conversation into a battleground, leaving us to choose between conflict and uncomfortable silence. But what if there was a different path, a way to explore these divisive issues without ending up at loggerheads? Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay present a compelling case for a transformative approach to discussions in their insightful book. They suggest that by holstering our arsenal of killer facts and adopting a disposition of genuine curiosity and empathy, we can foster meaningful dialogues instead of debates. Imagine a world where we engage with others not to vanquish but to understand, where we replace the impulse to lecture with the willingness to listen. The authors promise not just a decrease in arguments, but an increase in effective persuasion, paving the way for a deeper connection between divergent viewpoints. As we delve into this enlightening perspective, you'll uncover intriguing insights such as why people overestimate their understanding of everyday objects like toilets, how to thoughtfully challenge the notion of a soul's physical weight, and the importance of establishing a personal connection before diving into complex debates on topics like evolution. Join us on this journey towards mastering the art of impossible conversations. In doing so, we'll discover strategies not just for avoiding conflict, but for bridging divides, challenging assumptions, and perhaps most importantly, drawing people closer together in a world that desperately needs more understanding. Part 1: Turning Impossible into I'm Possible. The Art of Collaborative Conversations. Beliefs are the invisible architects of our actions. They shape our decisions, from donning a jacket on a chilly morning to the leaders we choose to guide our nations. But when beliefs clash, especially on topics of significant consequence, conversations can quickly escalate into confrontations, rendering meaningful dialogue seemingly impossible. Yet, believe it or not, even the most polarized discussions can transform into productive exchanges. Here lies a compelling insight. conversations deemed impossible can indeed become fruitful when approached as a collaborative effort rather than a contest. So, what exactly makes a conversation impossible? It's that frustrating, futile feeling when the chasm between differing beliefs and perspectives seems too vast to bridge. In such scenarios, dialogue often devolves into a series of monologues, with each party not so much listening as waiting for their turn to assert their standpoint. This lack of genuine exchange only perpetuates the divide. The beacon of hope in this scenario is the possibility of change. Beliefs, after all, are not set in stone. They can shift given the right conditions. However, coercion is not the key. Apart from ethical considerations, forcing someone to change their beliefs is largely ineffective. Rarely, if ever, does someone genuinely reconsider their stance in the wake of aggression. Conversely, conversation offers a fertile ground for the seeds of change. It's an inherently collaborative process, where new perspectives are not imposed but discovered through mutual exploration. The power of conversation lies in its ability to facilitate the birth of thoughts and ideas within individuals, helping them to arrive at new understandings organically. In this respectful exchange, where opposing parties work together rather than against each other, both are more likely to reach a meaningful resolution. This collaborative approach promises not only to temper the current climate of division and polarization, but also to equip us with practical strategies for navigating even the most challenging discussions. As we move forward, get ready to dive into a treasure trove of techniques designed to transform confrontations into opportunities for connection and understanding. Welcome to the promising realm of collaborative conversations, where impossible simply means I'm possible. Part 2. The secret to changing minds lies in the art of listening. Picture this: a ballet dancer executing a flawless series of turns, or a surgeon performing a precise operation. These expert performances, though complex, rest on a mastery of the basics. Similarly, the craft of conversation, particularly when it involves changing someone's mind, is built upon fundamental skills, with listening being paramount. The central idea here is clear. To truly influence someone's thought process, you need to engage in active listening. Often we lean heavily on the talking aspect, believing that the perfect argument or the most compelling facts will win the day. Yet, time and again, these well-crafted arguments seem to fall on deaf ears. The reason is simpler than you might think. People generally don't respond well to being lectured at. Lecturing, at its core, is a one-way mode of communication. You deliver your message and then step back, leaving it entirely up to the other person to absorb and agree with your viewpoint. This approach might hold merit in a classroom setting, but in conversations among equals, it often leads to resistance rather than persuasion. The ineffectiveness of lecturing was strikingly demonstrated in a series of experiments conducted in the 1940s by psychologist Kurt Lewin. Tasked with convincing American housewives to incorporate more offal into their diet during wartime shortages, Lewin observed a stark contrast in receptiveness between two groups. The first group, subjected to a fact-heavy lecture, showed a mere 3% behavioral change. In contrast, the second group, encouraged to come up with their own supportive arguments, displayed a significant 37% shift. This outcome powerfully illustrates that people are more inclined to embrace ideas that they've played a part in creating. This insight directs us to the value of listening. A crucial question to ponder is whether your input is solicited or unsolicited. If you weren't invited to share your opinion, chances are you're veering into lecturing territory. It's a signal to adjust your approach, reflect on your own experiences. Who would you prefer to spend time with? An overbearing know-it-all? Or someone genuinely interested in hearing your thoughts and engaging in a two-way dialogue? The answer is usually straightforward. Being listened to is not just pleasant, it's deeply fulfilling. By anchoring your conversations in this truth, you pave the way for genuine connection and ultimately the possibility of changing minds. Remember, the key to persuasive dialogue isn't just about what or how you speak, but equally about how attentively you listen. Part 3, Rapport, the bridge over troubled conversational waters. When disagreements arise among friends, we often prioritize the bonds of friendship over the compulsion to win arguments. This dynamic can teach us a valuable lesson about navigating conversations, even with those we don't know well. The essence of productive dialogue lies in establishing rapport, a psychological term describing the ease, trust, and mutual respect between people. It's this foundational comfort level that allows friends to navigate disagreements with openness and reduced defensiveness. Imagine two friends locked in a debate. Despite their opposing views, they're likely to approach the discussion with an underlying respect for each other's perspectives. They understand that behind every strongly held belief lies a reason worth exploring. This environment fosters a space where suggestions can flow freely and defenses are lowered. However, translating this level of rapport to discussions with strangers or acquaintances requires a delicate balance. You're not aiming to replicate the depth of rapport found in friendships, but to establish a baseline of respect and understanding. Street epistemologists exemplify this approach beautifully. Engaging strangers in profound discussions on topics like the existence of God, they borrow from ancient Greek philosophies to encourage people to question and reevaluate their beliefs. Success in such encounters hinges on their ability to quickly establish rapport, setting the stage for open, non-confrontational exchange. So how can we apply this in everyday conversations? Starting with basic pleasantries like names and occupations is a good step. The goal is to uncover common ground, which isn't as elusive as it might seem. Discovering shared experiences or interests lays a sturdy foundation for rapport, reminding us that we're interacting with another human being, not an adversary. Another essential strategy is to avoid what's known as parallel talk. This occurs when we respond to someone's story by immediately sharing a similar experience of our own, shifting the focus away from them and onto ourselves. Although it might seem like an attempt to relate, it can actually erode the budding rapport. Instead, showing genuine interest in their experiences by asking follow-up questions can strengthen the connection. Building rapport doesn't just facilitate smoother conversations, it transforms them. It serves as a reminder that beneath the surface of every discussion lies an opportunity for connection, understanding, and perhaps even friendship. Part 4. Unlocking Minds, the Subtle Power of Sowing Doubt. Imagine being asked to describe how a toilet functions. Sounds simple, right? Yet, a study conducted in 2001 unveiled a curious phenomenon. While most people felt confident about their understanding of toilets, their confidence waned significantly after attempting to explain the workings of flush mechanisms and siphons. This illustrates a broader tendency among us to overestimate our grasp of various concepts, a trait that can extend to our beliefs and opinions. This brings us to a pivotal insight. If you aim to alter someone's perspective, your initial step should be to introduce a sliver of doubt. Philosopher Robert Wilson sheds light on this by suggesting that our perceived knowledge often relies on an assumed expertise from others, likened to a collection of books we claim without having read them. This unread library effect not only highlights our superficial grasp of certain subjects, but also influences our stance on complex issues, including political opinions, as demonstrated by a 2013 study. Understanding this human tendency can be remarkably beneficial in discussions. Instead of bombarding participants with facts or directives, guiding them to confront the limitations of their own understanding through self-inquiry proves far more effective. This approach, termed modeling ignorance, involves positioning oneself as unknowledgeable on a subject to prompt exploration and explanation from others. By employing open-ended questions that delve deeper into the subject, you provide an opportunity for your conversation partner to articulate their thoughts in greater detail. For instance, initiating a conversation with a statement like, "I'm not entirely sure how mass deportations would unfold," and following this with probing questions allows the other person to navigate the complexities of their stance. This process either leads to a realization of their knowledge gaps or, in cases where they possess substantial expertise, enriches the discussion significantly for both parties. The brilliance of this method lies in its subtlety and its capacity to foster self-reflection, paving the way for potential shifts in perspective. Rather than overt persuasion or confrontation, planting seeds of doubt through inquiry encourages individuals to re-evaluate their beliefs, providing a fertile ground for genuine understanding and change. Part 5. Building bridges, not walls, embracing Rappaport's rules for civil discourse. Misunderstandings are the bane of any conversation, especially when they morph into deliberate misrepresentations. Suddenly, you're not defending your actual beliefs, but battling against a distorted version of your stance, a straw man easily knocked down. This doesn't just derail the discussion, it strikes a blow to fairness and understanding. However, there's a strategic approach to navigate through these turbulent conversational waters, known as Rappaport's rules. This approach, designed to cultivate an atmosphere of mutual respect and openness during disagreements, originates from the insightful mind of American game theorist Anatole Rappaport. His rules, later systematized by philosopher Daniel C. Dennett, serve as a guiding compass for conducting civil constructive critiques. So, what does Rappaport's checklist entail? Let's break it down, rule by rule. First, strive to encapsulate your conversation partner's viewpoint using your own words, aiming for clarity and fairness. Your goal is for them to acknowledge that you've captured their essence, possibly even better than they did. This initial step is crucial for demonstrating your genuine interest in understanding their perspective. Next, pinpoint and acknowledge the areas where you agree. This second rule lays the groundwork for a common understanding, providing a safe fallback when discussions intensify. The third directive involves reflecting on what their argument has taught you. By acknowledging their contribution to your understanding, you engage in what's termed pro-social modeling. You're essentially exemplifying the respectful and open-minded attitude you hope to see reciprocated. Lastly, only after navigating through the previous steps should you present your counter-arguments. This sequence ensures that when you do voice disagreements, they're framed within a context of existing understanding and respect. Each rule serves a distinct purpose. Rephrasing the other's argument underscores a desire for comprehension, while identifying mutual agreements forges a shared foundation. Acknowledging new insights you've gained from the discussion reciprocates respect and models the behavior you seek, thus setting the stage for a collaborative, rather than combative, exchange. Adhering to these principles might be challenging, especially when passions flare. Nevertheless, wielding Rappaport's rules effectively can transform even the most volatile discussions into opportunities for growth, understanding, and connection. Part 6. When belief systems clash with empirical evidence. In a captivating face-off in 2014, Bill Nye, the beloved science communicator, squared off against Ken Ham, a staunch creationist, to debate the origins of the universe. Nye, grounded in the theories of evolution, and Ham, firm in his belief of divine creation, represented polar opposite viewpoints. The pivotal moment came when the moderator inquired what it would take to alter their views. Nye's response was straightforward: evidence. Ham's answer, however, was startlingly unequivocal: nothing. This striking disparity in openness to change underscores a fundamental truth about belief formation. The essence here is that not everyone relies on evidence to shape their convictions. For those like Nye, who prioritize empirical evidence, encountering someone like Ham can be baffling, if not downright frustrating. The empirically inclined often operate under the presumption that a single, missing puzzle piece of evidence could revolutionize the other party's stance. Yet, for individuals like Ham, no amount of evidence will sway their belief, solidified by convictions that transcend empirical proof. This phenomenon isn't exclusive to religious beliefs. A notable portion of Americans, despite the avalanche of scientific evidence supporting evolution, remain creationists. Their rejection of evolution isn't due to a lack of exposure to scientific facts, but stems from a reliance on different evaluative criteria, ones that aren't anchored in evidence. For some, adherence to creationism is a testament to their faith, a moral compass guiding them toward what they perceive as righteousness. For others, it's about community and belonging. Embracing the creationist view aligns them with their peer group, fostering a sense of identity and acceptance. These motivations, rooted in moral and social values, illustrate how the pull of being perceived as good within one's community can overshadow the allure of empirical truth. But does this chasm between the empirical and belief-based perspectives doom all attempts at conversation to failure? Not necessarily. Recognizing that debates can't be won solely with facts is the first step toward bridging this divide. To engage meaningfully with those holding fundamentally different beliefs, conversations must transcend the realm of evidence and facts. Instead, they should strive to find common ground, appealing to the underlying moral and social considerations driving these convictions. In doing so, we might discover that even the most diametrically opposed individuals, like Nye and Ham, have more in common than meets the eye: a shared human experience, values, and perhaps even goals. By shifting the focus away from proving points to understanding perspectives, we can pave the way for more constructive and empathetic dialogues. Part 7. Unlocking Minds: The Power of Logical Inquiry over Evidence. Consider a scenario where an atheist is trying to persuade her religious co-worker that his belief in God might not be as well-founded as he thinks. She meticulously curates her arguments, laying out her evidence with precision, only to find that her efforts have the opposite effect. Her co-worker becomes even more steadfast in his beliefs. This paradoxical situation is not uncommon. Often, the introduction of evidence to support an argument can inadvertently reinforce the existing beliefs of the person you're trying to persuade. Recognizing this, it might be time to shift tactics. When evidence fails, exploring the logical structure of beliefs through careful questioning can open new avenues for discussion. It's crucial to understand that presenting evidence might trigger defensive mechanisms. People don't want to appear foolish, especially if they've invested significant emotional, intellectual, or even financial resources into their beliefs. Instead of challenging beliefs with external facts, probe the internal consistency of these beliefs with open-ended questions. Asking questions not only highlights potential contradictions within the belief system, but also encourages introspection without the confrontational tone of direct evidence-based argumentation. Let's explore a hypothetical example. Suppose a friend, Paul, professes a belief that the human soul weighs exactly 7 pounds, based on experiments he claims a German scientist conducted. Rather than dismissing or confronting this belief with empirical counter-arguments, engage Paul in a dialogue that examines the internal logic of his conviction. Start by understanding the origins of his belief. Then, delve into the implications logically. Do infants possess 7-pound souls? Such questioning encourages Paul to consider the practical applications and potential inconsistencies of his belief without feeling attacked. Further, introduce disconfirming questions that challenge the internal consistency of the belief system. Ask Paul what kind of evidence or scenario would lead him to reconsider the weight he ascribes to the soul. This approach nudges him towards considering the conditions under which his belief might not hold, fostering a space for doubt and reevaluation without direct confrontation. By shifting the focus from evidence to the internal logic of beliefs through thoughtful questioning, conversations can transcend impasses, paving the way for more productive and enlightening dialogues. Through this technique, rooted in mutual respect and curiosity, you may unlock perspectives previously barricaded by defensive barriers. Part 8. Leveraging hostage negotiation tactics for everyday dialogues. While philosophers and psychologists have long delved into the complexities of human interaction, there's a particularly fascinating group whose expertise in communication can literally make the difference between life and death. Hostage negotiators. These professionals maneuver through high-stakes conversations with skills that can also dramatically enhance everyday interactions. The essence of effective dialogue, as demonstrated by the art of hostage negotiation, is rooted in several key strategies designed to navigate through even the most challenging conversations. One such technique is the use of minimal encouragers. These are subtle verbal nods like, "Yeah, I see," and "okay," which signal active listening. Simple yet powerful, these encouragers serve to reassure your conversation partner and can significantly ease tension. Mirroring represents another effortless yet impactful strategy. By repeating the last few words your partner has said as a question, you not only affirm that you're listening, but also that you understand their point of view. For instance, in response to, "I'm just so tired of people not taking responsibility," echoing back, "not taking responsibility," encourages further elaboration, facilitating a deeper exchange of views. Crucially, if the goal is to encourage someone to reconsider their stance, offering them a golden bridge to retreat across gracefully is vital. This approach acknowledges the difficulty of the situation for all parties involved, allowing them to shift their position without loss of face. This technique borrows from the high-stakes world of hostage negotiation, illustrating that the same principle of saving face is crucial in everyday exchanges. Starting with smaller, less contentious issues is yet another tactic borrowed from the negotiator's playbook. Achieving agreement on minor points early in the conversation sets a cooperative tone, paving the way for more productive discussions on weightier topics. This strategy fosters an atmosphere of mutual success, which can be incredibly conducive to maintaining civility when navigating more significant disagreements. Drawing from the disciplines of hostage negotiation, these techniques highlight the profound impact of communication strategies on the resolution of conflicts. By adopting these approaches, you can transform potentially contentious dialogues into opportunities for constructive exchange, ensuring that even the most impossible conversations can yield positive outcomes. Final summary. In today's landscape, marked by deep division and heightened partisanship, the act of engaging in meaningful conversation has become a rare skill. Often, discussions devolve into futile exchanges, leaving participants more entrenched in their positions. Yet, the heart of the issue isn't the ideological divide itself, but rather a collective drift away from the foundational principles of effective communication. The essence of bridging these divides lies not in convincing others of our correctness, but in rediscovering the art of conversation. Authentic engagement begins with active listening, truly hearing what others have to say without the intent to rebut or lecture. It calls for a willingness to explore the nuances of different perspectives, to understand rather than immediately seek to be understood. Moreover, the manner in which we express disagreement plays a critical role. By adopting a posture of curiosity and openness, and voicing our viewpoints with respect and consideration, we create a space where dialogue can flourish. It's in these environments that minds can be changed, beliefs can be scrutinized, and common ground can be found. Reviving the art of conversation isn't just about improving individual discussions, it's about mending the fabric of our social interactions. By committing to listen, to learn, and to engage with civility, we can move beyond the impasse of partisanship and cultivate a culture of empathy and understanding. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.